The Road to Afghanistan by Linda Granfield.
Afghanistan. I've been there and seen the beauty of its mountains and its fields of wildflowers. I've also seen the ugliness that war can bring to a country and to its people. I was a soldier there for 2 tours of duty, but now I'm home.
There have been other soldiers in my family when I was little. Every November 11th, my parents took my sisters and me to the cemetery to place a wreath of red poppies on my great-grandfather's grave. It was usually cold and a gray day.
We got to the cemetery. We stared at the name on the headstone, John William Peterson. We said a prayer, left the wreath, and the dove back home, usually in the rain.
John William Peterson grew up in Alberta on the prairies, a farmer's son who would one day inherit the family land and grow wheat until he grew older. But in 1914, as the sun brought harvest time closer, a war began far away in Europe.
Young John went into town with his friends and signed up to become a soldier. It was autumn. The young men said the war would be over by Christmas. There would be adventures to remember for the rest of their lives. They called it the Great War. It wasn't so great after all, and it wasn't over by Christmas. John Williams spent nearly 4 years in the muddy fields of France. He fought in a town called Ypres. The soldiers called it Wipers.
Bugs in his uniform made him itch. He ate canned meat and made tea in his mail hat. He slept in a trench that filled with water and swimming rats when it rained. He killed enemy soldiers and feared that he would be killed.
John William Peterson didn't die in the Great War, but on one hot summer day on a battlefield that was once glorious with ripening wheat, an explosion changed his life. He went home to Alberta without one of his arms. Sometimes in Afghanistan, I'd look out at the desert sands around me. I'd think of my great-grandfather. I'd watch the winds lifting the golden sand and gray dust and feel the heat rising from the earth. And I'd wonder about the farm boy standing knee-high in the crops that swayed in the prairie winds. The boy who went to war as I did. The young man who returned and had to build a new life.
How could a man with one arm be a farmer? There were plows to hook up to teams of horses and machinery to operate, seeding and weeding, scything and stooking.
Back-breaking work for a man with 2 hands, too much for a man with 1. His younger brother took over the farm, and John William began a new life.
J.W. Peterson, the grocer said on the sign on the store my great-grandfather owned. Outside sat carts piled high with cabbages. The windows of the stores were huge, with the prices of goods shown on small squares of cardboard.
Cans were neatly stacked in a pyramid in the window. Imagine a can of beans for just pennies or a bag of flour for just over a quarter.
There's a lot you can do with one arm. You can place orders and stock shelves in a store. You can ring up sales on the cash register. You can find new ways to tie your shoes, button your shirt, cut your dinner on the plate. Hold hands.
Emma Schultz packed the customers' purchases. Her parents had left Germany many years before to find a better life in Canada. Emma became my great-grandmother. John William found out that you don't need 2 arms to fall in love, to embrace your sweetheart, to hold your babies.
Sometimes in Afghanistan, I was so afraid. I heard my heart thumping. Sweat drenched my clothes. I heard screams. I ran into clay buildings, alert for danger and hoping I'd get back. I couldn't sleep.
Now that I'm home, some sounds make my heart thump. Those sounds take me back to Afghanistan. And if I wonder, John Williams felt the same thumping and cold sweat all those years ago. We didn't go to Afghanistan just to fight. We removed explosives and made roads safer for travel. We helped build bridges and schools, dug wells, and brought security to places that for years had none.
We shared games, candy, and laughter with all the children of Afghanistan. Soldiers leave home and family to go to war. They come back changed. The people who live where we fight, they suffer. They are changed too. The French in 1914 during John Williams' War.
The people of Italy, where my grandfather Arthur fought in 1944 in the Second World War, and the Afghans, where I fought. We all chose to become soldiers. We had our reasons for making that choice. I wonder what theirs were. I know mine.
I didn't die in Afghanistan, but on one hot summer's day on a quiet, dusty road, an explosion changed my life. As I walked along, glancing towards the homes and watching for danger, I saw children peeking from the windows.
I smiled at one little boy and girl. I remembered thinking how heavy my gear was, complaining to myself that we had too much to carry on such a stifling day. I took my next step.
That step could have been my last, like one of my comrades, Brendan. I could have traveled home along the highway of heroes. Many times people stood silently on the bridges over that highway, some saying, "O Canada," as the cars carrying the soldiers' coffins drove past.
In an Ottawa cemetery, marble gravestones mark where Brendan and other Canadian soldiers who died in Afghanistan are buried. Above them, a Canadian flag snaps in blustering winds like the winds I felt in Afghanistan.
On November 11th, I visit the local memorial for remembrance ceremonies. I wear a poppy and I think of the veterans in my family, like my dad's father, Arthur, and John William Peterson, and the life he created for myself and his family.
I will need such courage for my journey to my new life. Now I'm a veteran with my own stories to share when I am ready. Stories of a land far away and people I will never forget. The children recite in Flanders fields and lay a wreath of poppies at the memorial. I am proud. I cry a little, just a little.